Hi, everybody. I'm Pierre Bouvard, Chief Insights Officer here at the Audio Active Group at Cumulus Media in Westwood One. And today we're asking, can it be proved that AM/FM radio campaigns drive search and site traffic? Well, the answer to that question is yes. A brand new study from LeadsRx conducted over 5 years examined search and site traffic generated by AM/FM radio campaigns across 17 different campaigns across a wide variety of product categories. Now, LeadsRx measures the entire impact of the radio campaign. Here at the Audio Active Group, we've brought LeadsRx in to measure dozens and dozens of national radio campaigns. And here's how it works. We turn to media monitors to pull a file of every single ad that ran in every single market. So all radio ads, whether it's national, local, network, spot, regardless of the vendor, they're all combined, and every single ad gets appended to it the Nielsen impressions for that ad. So if an ad ran in Des Moines at 8:18 at night, the Nielsen impressions for that ad is appended. If the ad ran at 3 o'clock in the afternoon in New York City, the impressions for that particular ad are appended. So LeadsRx is analyzing every ad, every market, and looking at the impressions generated by that campaign. Next, they have a pixel that they place on the brand website, and they're examining site traffic for that marketer on a market by market basis. So they will geofence the search and site traffic in Des Moines and then look at the radio ads that ran just in Des Moines. And then they go to the next market. So they basically build up the whole country based on the market by market analysis. And they're looking at a number of things. They're looking at the absolute lift in search and site traffic due to the radio campaign, but they're also comparing the share of Nielsen impressions to the share of attributed web sessions. And that's very interesting because you can look at things like day of week, the week of the campaign, radio programming format, the different creative that ran, and different day parts. So let's get right into the study. What are the 3 key findings from these 17 studies conducted over 5 years? Well, first, the average website lift due to the radio campaign was 13.6%. So the radio campaigns drove an astonishing 13.6% increase on average across these 17 different campaigns. Secondly, spoken word formats, news and talk, and sports overperformed their share of Nielsen impressions. Now, mind you, a wide variety of programming formats generated significant search and site traffic. Lastly, the study showed clearly that creative matters, and most importantly, saying the name of the business and the website within the first 3 seconds, and saying the name of the business and the website at least 5 times in the 30-second ad is critical to impact. So let's get into these 17 campaigns. To the left, you have small lift. To the right, you have very strong lift. Now, what this study taught us is that the nature of the category, how many people the category appeals to, and how many people would be in market is a key factor in how much impact, how much web traffic impact a campaign will have. So look all the way to the left of your screen. Look at the B2B tech services campaign that got a 2.6% increase in web traffic. That's not a consumer campaign. That's a business to business for a very specific product. So the actual number of people in America that this is directed to is a much smaller proportion of people. And according to the Ehrenberg Bass Institute of Marketing Science, at any given time, only 5% of a business is actually in market for a product or service. So there you have a small kind of B2B marketplace and a limited number of people that might be in market. Now go all the way to the right of your screen. What is leading the way? Tax preparation campaigns. Well, how many people in America have to focus on tax preparation? Well, basically everyone, and they don't have a choice, and it has to be done in first quarter. So when you have a category that is universally appealing and everybody has to be in market, no wonder you see these outsized lifts in search and site traffic generated by the radio campaign. So here is the review of all of the campaigns. You'll see there were multiple campaigns. Sometime within the category, there were 3 different tax preparation brands. There were 4 different campaigns for job websites, 2 different retailers, and you can see the spread in terms of search and site traffic lift. Now, here is where LeadsRx does something really interesting. The gray bars here represent Nielsen impressions. The blue bar represents the share of attributed web sessions. So here we're looking at day of week. So which day of the week tended to outperform its share of Nielsen impressions? Well, across these campaigns, it was Sunday and Monday. You can see on Monday, 18% of the campaigns had their impressions on Monday. 20% was the share of attributed web sessions. So over delivery there. You can see Saturday actually over delivered a little bit, and Sunday definitely over delivered. So the lesson for marketers is make sure weekend radio is in your media plan, because those impressions actually work harder for you and they tend to outperform in addition to the beginning of the week. Now let's look at a campaign and let's look at the entire campaign week by week. This is a jewelry retailer. Obviously, Christmas is a big season for them. And so to the left of your screen, you can see in gray the share of Nielsen impressions, and then the share of your attributed web sessions in dark blue. So early in the campaign, early to mid-November, you can see actually the share of Nielsen impressions was underperformed by the drive to web. So not as great a conversion early on, but then we go into December, from the 3rd of December to the 16th, and whoa, look at what's happening here. Now, yes, there were more impressions in the total radio campaign, but the share of attributed web sessions actually outperforms the share of Nielsen impressions. Now, what's happening here is good old human procrastination. When I hear that radio ad and Christmas is a month and a half away or a month away, I'm like, yeah, maybe I'll look into it. But then as that deadline is approaching, you can see people are jumping on the web and getting down to business. So attribution can really show the times when people tend to be more responsive. Now let's take a look at day part, where it could compare share of Nielsen impressions across these campaigns by day part in gray. The blue bar represents the share of attributed web sessions. So let's start with mornings. So across these campaigns, about 22% of the impressions occurred in the morning, but 16% of the attributed web sessions occurred. And this is a pattern that we see consistently. What's going on here? People are busy in the morning, getting to work, getting their kids ready. They're not going to have as much time to go check out a website, but they still do, because you can see 16% of the attributed web sessions did happen in the morning. Now look at what happens at night. At night, we have lots of time on our hands. We have lots of devices. And so there is a much stronger relationship between the share of attributed web sessions versus the Nielsen impressions. Now, a word of caution, only 8% of all American radio listening happens at night. 2.5 times more radio listening occurs in the morning. Morning represents 20% of all American radio listening. So do not overreact to charts like this and say, oh, we got to move lots more media weight over to nights, because what you're going to be doing is hitting a very small number of people. Mornings, where you can hit a lot of people. And learning is repetition. People do not instantly respond to the campaign. They need repeated reach and frequency over time. They have to be in market, they have to have a need, and then they'll go. So don't overreact on day part allocation based on charts like this. Now, one key finding from the study is weight matters. So for a retailer, LeadsRx examined the share of web sessions in 3 different groups of markets. They looked at markets with light media weight, medium media weight, and heavy media weight. So they looked at the average GRPs across these 3 groupings. So in markets that were lightly exposed, this retailer only saw a 9% lift in their search and site traffic due to radio. In markets with medium exposure, they saw a 14% lift, and markets that were heavily exposed saw a 27% lift. So does weight matter? You bet. Does a bigger budget matter? You bet. The more you spend, the more you get. The greater the investment in radio, the greater the impact in radio. Now, there is no greater evidence to this weight matters lesson than a major LeadsRx study conducted in partnership with iHeart. This study examined 310 car dealers over a 14-month period, and it was in 100 markets. So this was the largest radio attribution study ever conducted in the history of radio. And one of the interesting analyses where they looked at the typical day across all of these ads, there were 2 million ads run, but they looked at an average day, and they looked at how many ads were running in the market, and then what kind of lift, what kind of increase in site traffic to that auto dealer occurred. So to the left of your screen, 1 to 9 ads being run, you only saw a 5% increase. Now, markets with 20 to 29 ads run, you saw a 23% increase. And then markets where there were 40 or more ads running in a day, you saw an astounding 55% increase. But look at the relationship of this chart. The more radio ads you run, the more results. The more radio ads you run, the greater the site traffic to your business. Now, let's look at programming formats across these 17 studies. What proportion of Nielsen impressions were in each format, and then what proportion of the attributed web sessions occurred by format. And you can see both news talk and sports spoken word formats outperformed their share of impressions. But as you can see down the list, lots of radio formats are really moving the needle. 10% of attributed web sessions coming from urban stations, 12% from AC stations, 10% from country. So a wide variety of programming formats driving site traffic. Now, how important is creative to effectiveness? Really important, according to Nielsen's study of 500 different sales effect studies where they matched media impressions to credit card data and shopper card data. Nielsen found that creative is responsible for 49% of sales effect. 21% of the sales effect is due to the power of the advertiser's brand. 14% is due to the reach of the campaign, and only 11% of sales occurs because of targeting. Now, we in media get all excited about targeting, find the right audience. But as you can see, targeting is a very small lever to effectiveness. Actually, reach is much more important than targeting. That's why Erwin Efron, the guru of marketing effectiveness, said, remind the many, don't lecture the few. But creative is the big lever. In fact, Analytic Partners, one of the leading media mix modelers, says creative is a key driver of advertising performance, second only to investment levels. So let's take a look at a campaign where they had a variety of creative running. Some of the creative focused on specific jewelry brands. This was a jewelry retailer campaign. Some of the campaign was centered around different selling seasons, different sales, and then there were some offers and deals. Look at that 1 second to the left, rewards offer. It generated only 12% of all of the Nielsen impressions in the overall campaign, but it generated an astounding 23% of the site traffic due to radio. So that blew it out of the park. Now, this particular offer was if you spend $500, you get a $200 store credit. That is quite a deal. And as you can see, that is exactly why that particular creative, that particular offer did really well. If you have a weak offer, you're going to get weak site traffic. If you have a compelling offer, you're going to get greater site traffic. Now, one of the other big lessons out of this study is the importance of branding early and often. Now, it seems logical. You're trying to drive people to your website. So the more you say your name of your website and your business, the more likely people will be to go there. But you'd be surprised if you go through your radio campaigns and ask yourself, how many times did I say my brand, and did I say it early in the campaign? You might be shocked to see how poorly you're branding in your radio copy. Thousands of Nielsen campaign effect studies show that the more brand mentions in an ad, the more familiar people are with you, they'll feel better about you, and they're more likely to look for information. And not surprisingly, you're going to have higher ad recall if you say your name more frequently. And I've had conversations with people say, wow, I got to say my name 5 times, but that's going to take a lot of copy. But the whole goal is to get people to remember your business, to think of your business and go to your website. So say your name more frequently. Now, an easy trick is instead of saying we, just put the name of your store. Here's a great exercise to do for your copy, for your business at your agency or your brand. Listen to the ad and find out at what point in the ad does the brand first appear? And then how frequently is that website or brand name mentioned? Now, in this particular creative analysis, LeadsRx found that the brands that said their name within the first couple of seconds of the ad had greater search and site traffic. Now, all of these brands failed to say their name enough. You're supposed to say it at least 5 times or more in a 30-second ad, and you're looking at 2 brand mentions, 3 here. So a lot of work to be done. But the good thing about radio is you don't have to fly the crew back to Cancun to reshoot. It is very inexpensive to fix your ad, get the brand within the first 3 seconds, and make sure you get more brand mentions. So LeadsRx offers these attribution best practices. Some of these seem so logical, but they're really impactful. Avoid complicated URLs. Make sure you're driving people to the brand website. Research highly used keywords for the brand, include that in the ad copy, and optimize just on 2 dimensions. So the key takeaways from this significant study of radio over-the-air campaign attribution is, yes, you can measure the site traffic generated by radio campaigns. On average, this study revealed an increase of 13.6% of web traffic directly attributed to the radio campaigns. We saw this work across a wide variety of categories. Retail and impulse purchases seem to do very well. Weekends need to be in your media plan. They do really well. They outperform their share of Nielsen impressions to web traffic. And the greater the weight, the more ads you run, the more impact, the more site traffic you're going to get. We saw that across that retailer, where the larger the market or the larger the weight in the markets, the bigger the impact. All formats perform well, but spoken word tends to do a little bit better, tends to outperform. The recommendations: don't overreact to the day part allocations. There are times of the day when people have access to devices and time, but don't move all your weight to those day parts, because what you need is to remind the many and don't lecture the few. Understand which days of the week are important for your categories. Some categories have different daily response times. If there are times of the year when your category, your product tends to be more needed or more useful, obviously heavy up during those periods, especially for seasonal categories. When it comes to your media plan, go broad, go deep, buy wide. Lots of different programming formats. Avoid the trap of the obvious fit format. Oh, it's a military themed advertiser, we'll just buy country. Oh, it's a cosmetic brand. Oh, we're just going to buy top 40. You gotta go for reach, remind the many, don't lecture the few. And of course, brand early and often. So the three key findings: radio generates 13.6% average increase in web traffic. Spoken word outperforms, but many formats are driving search and site traffic. And brand early and often make your copy work harder for your business. The Audio Active Group here at Cumulus Media in Westwood One is a full-service national advisory for national brands, offering creative recommendations and measurement. We measure the entire impact of your campaign, whether it's brand lift, sales effect, or search and site traffic. Each and every week, we publish a new audio case study. You can find it on our blog, cumulusmedia.com or westwood1.com. And when you're there, on the right-hand side, you can sign up to get the weekly case study and audio insights sent right into your email box. Thanks so much for the opportunity to share with you this significant LeadsRx attribution study of radio advertising. Thanks so much.